Hello, what's going on? Welcome back. We're here today with a brand new FC24 video, and it's all about those starter teams. Once you get your hands on the new game, you're not knowing what to build. Well, don't worry, I've got you. Or the community, actually, because I'm going to be doing I rate their teams. And I've also got mine, though. Should we start off with that? I want to show you this. It's quite special. Let's go. So with this team that I built, I wanted to give it some identity because on the beta, I had actually tried the 4-2-3-1 and it felt amazing just to get down the line. Obviously, I had informed versions of like Mbappe and Messi and all sorts, but it did feel really, really good. So with that being said, what I like personally is to have that cam drop into the defensive areas just to help you a little bit more and become even more compact. Like the 4-2-3-1 already is known to be defensive, but when that cam really does offer a little bit more dropping in, it's just really difficult to break down. And that's why Dunn, the 84 rated machine, by the way, she can also play as a left back, which is really, really nice. But she gives you a little bit of everything. She's got good enough stats to play as a cam. You could play as centre mid, and it gives you also a bit more flexibility with what you're going to want to do with your squads. But this is my personal starter. I think we've done a really good job here. We've been able to sprinkle in a few of the women as well, so it's not just like a bland male squad. You know what I mean? Like Rodman looks fantastic. You've got Swanson on the opposite side as well. Really good speed. And the one thing that you might have paid attention to as well is that in the attack, we have a minimum shot of 81, which is really important at the start. You want to be taking your chances, and we've been able to do that. The midfield is just stacked with Jolaton and Bruno Guimaraes. And then in the defense, I think I've also done a pretty good job not only keeping chemistry, but giving you guys some very strong options. And even Romero will be fine for the first couple of weeks to months, potentially. I mean, 70 pace isn't great, but he's probably just the weakest out of the lot. So what do you think of my team? Rate that out of 10. And let's do yours. So with this team here, I'm loving the use of Openda. He's just one of those typical overpowered looking players that's going to be able to get you guys up and running for the first week or even 2 weeks with that kind of finishing. And then alongside Werner as well, you're providing like very good speed just to catch your opponents out. Xavi as well, really did like his team of the season on FIFA 23. But what I've actually seen already with this squad is that you're putting too much faith in Musiala or Xavi to be really good makeshift CDMs or like centre mids. If they're not great and it doesn't play out like that on FC24, then you've just restricted yourself even more to switch up your formation. And I think that's what's important with the starter team. You don't want to build one specifically in one set formation unless you know 100% that that's what you want to use. But I'd give yourself just a little bit more freedom. So just in case something isn't working, you can easily just switch it around. So if you're building your starter teams, you need to pay close attention to the fullback positions. There are so many options that give you crazy speed. And well, it looks and appears that they've got balanced stats on their face card. But when you look at their in-games, they might have like 65 interceptions or 65 defense awareness, which is rubbish. But in this case, it's looking good. It's just that Pedro Porro is a little bit slow. So if you want to save up some coins and maybe potentially bring in like a Kyle Walker or some other fast options from the Premier League, then maybe you could go ahead with that. But the centre backs are great. Like Van der Ven's going to be quality. I don't think he's actually going to be as expensive as maybe like we believe, just because he's so low rated. But Pope, solid option. The midfield looks quite nice to play in this 4-3-3. You could also switch that up into like a 4-1-2-1-2, but then you're going to ask a little bit more out of the Jolaton up and down the field. In the attack, this is what I didn't like personally, is that Ferran Torres on older FIFAs is that he doesn't really feel like a proper winger. For me personally, I prefer him as a striker. And then Kubo, if you're really wanting to play this in a 4-3-3, they're going to be far better wingers on the game. I've already showed you a couple in my main starter squad. So just keep that in mind. Nunez, though, is going to be fantastic. Reliable finisher. Even though in real life, he's a bit hit and miss, but on the game, he'll be very good. So this team is definitely one of the best ones that we've seen so far from the community. You can compare it with mine. Let me know which one you'd prefer to use in the comments. But what I like about this is that the attackers are interchangeable. You could have this in a 4-2-2, a 4-3-3, or maybe even, well, a 4-3-2-1, or just how it's set. So I like that a lot. But Gabriel Jesus is always a little bit risky to purchase. He could be 30, 40, 50,000, and then you're going to run the risk of losing money if you do want to continue using him. So maybe it's best to start with like an Alexander Isak. Not to say that he's the best or it will outperform Jesus, but for the price, the performance, I think he's probably going to be like a better option for a starter team. And then you got Montiel, Gomez, Van der Ven. Like the defense looks fine. Maybe Henry question mark over him. Are his in-game stats really that good? Can't remember if I've actually checked those. But Nunez, Jola, and Kudus, like, I like it. It's a good team. Definitely the better one that we're seeing. But just be careful of the prices. Do you know who I've seen straight away? Is Rafa. I would use him every year without fail. Alongside Yeltsin Martins, have one on the left, one on the right. It was just a beautiful attack for cheap. Literally peanuts. And Rabiot, though, is also a standout in this squad. He looks way too good to be affordable for a starter at this moment in time. I reckon he's going to come in at like 25, 30,000. But it depends like what your idea of a starter is. I can also see Bremer as well. That's one of the most meta centre-backs this year. Alongside Tomori, you've got Eder Militao. So again, you might throw on a few fever points. You might trade up as well using some SBC solutions, trading methods. You could do you, right? But this is nice. Like, you've added a good balance as well in the attack with a nice finisher in Guedes. Renato Sanchez, another one that's going to be a little bit expensive. I'm going to be real, though. I don't really like the look of Pellegrini to play as a cam. Like, centre mid, absolutely fine. But if you're really forcing him into that cam position, I feel like there are going to be far better players to go for. And if you are going to spend on Bremer or Rabiot, you may as well spend the extra and get yourself a better card. But I like that one as well. Good. So we've got some women in this one. And you know what I discovered when I was putting together my starter team? The leagues aren't merged for female and males for chemistry. And that's what's going to make it a little bit awkward to get them in. Because I was finding that I was having to go out my way to bring in another female from that league just to help chem. But one thing that is merged are the actual clubs themselves. So if you find a Lyon male with a Lyon female, you're going to get chemistry. So just keep that in mind when you're building your teams. But I feel like you've actually picked two very good females for this build, especially the right winger. She looks incredible. 94 pace with very good dribble and 89. She shouldn't be cheap, but a fantastic option. She reminds me of, yeah, like, I actually find it funny as well. I was going to say like a cheaper Kingsley Coman, and there you go. You've got a Kingsley Coman as well in the same team. So maybe that's what they were going for, something similar. But the defense is very good. Kim and Jae is going to be in a lot of teams with Upper Meccano that I did a video on the other day. And the fullbacks, you can't really go wrong. And Werner or Pender we already saw. But, you know, you don't have to go too over the top and creative. But I do rate that you've been able to get use out of some brand new cards on the game. So, sweet. So I do like what we've got going on here, especially in the attack. Brand, and don't know how to pronounce the name, I'm sorry. But looking at what I had in my main starter, every single player in the attack had a minimum 81 shot. In this team, it's giving you like a similar approach with the pace and dribble, but then, you know, you're going to be taken away from the performance a little bit, but then you're also going to be bringing down the costs. Like an 81 and 82, they shouldn't be that much money. So for creativity, I really, really like it, and Malin striker should be fine. In the midfield, be careful. Like, you've done the same mistake somebody else did. Baku, if he's terrible with the 72 defense, like, what formation are you going to play? Like, you're having to rely on him to, you know, chip in with some tackles. Unless this is going to be played in like a 4-1-2-1-2, you could probably squeeze that out of the squad. In the defense, not sure who the women are. I don't follow the women football, but yeah, be careful with the height and that. But she does look quite nice in the defense. Really good pace for a centre back, and nice defensive stats as well. With the left back, I don't know how she's 83. She looks terrible for that rating. And 80 pace, oh dear. I don't like that personally. And maybe the goalkeeper could be pretty poor. But other than that, it is really nice. So this will be the last team in today's video. But if you do like this style of content, please do show me by dropping a thumbs up. And let me know in the comments if you want to get involved. Like, post out your teams actually over to me on Twitter, because I'm always active over there, especially with the build up to FC24. So go and let me know what players you've discovered, what teams you're thinking about building, and I will make some videos on it. But this here, we have Dennis Bergkamp striker. Who's this? No, I'm kidding. I don't even know who that is. But she has 85 shot and 86 dribbling with 82 pace. She's giving me like Ben Yedder vibes. So maybe you're going to have to like play it into her feet and then wait for some other players to support. But with that being said, you've got Foden and Trossard, and they're quite slow. They're the ones that are going to want to play make to someone who's a little bit quicker, isn't it? And slip them in. So I think that I'd work on that. Maybe take away Trossard and bring in more of like a winger from the Premier League, and then Foden stays. Sergi Dada is always like really good. I remember him last year. He was fantastic. I played him as like a CDM centre mid. He was so fast and like agile. He gave you that for cheap. So definitely recommend giving him a chance. Declan Rice, I thought he would have a better card this year, especially with that shot and passing. I thought they would have brought that up a little bit. but still is going to be rock solid. And then you've got Mario Hermoso. You can't really go wrong with him. Martinez is going to be solid. And then you've got the left back. I checked out her in games, and she looks like a center mid. You could legit play her as a center mid, so maybe a bit slow for fullback. But if you ever needed a midfielder, yeah, bring her in. So I like it, but I feel like with this team, you need to balance out the attack and bring in a bit more speed. But it's been an absolute pleasure looking at these community squads. But what do you think of mine? You going to build it? I think it needs to be like adapted slightly, like in the defense. Maybe bring in like faster player for Romero, but I like it. So far, so good. So thank you very much for watching. Thumbs up if you've enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next FC24 video. Peace.